Someone had asked me multiple times, you know what I'm saying, many people, you know what I'm saying, this pastor preaches, you know what I'm saying, like huge conviction with the Holy Spirit, this, that, and the truth of the clarity that had poured out, which is fucking mind-blowing, which summarizes all of fucking demonic doctrines of devils and religion in general, is that the convictions that these people, you know what I'm saying, have been hit with by the Spirit of God of their own heart exposed, whether it was like pornography to them or drugs or whatever it was, child molestation, whatever, was something that God had convicted them in the light to realize nobody's good but God alone. And that was supposed to be the invitation for the kingdom of heaven to be a hand to wholeheartedly surrender all past desires and all things that their heart ever wanted, you know what I'm saying, like I said, right? Living in the old, but they never surrendered wholeheartedly, which is Galatians 5:9. So they ended up believing in their own delusions from their own heart desires, which the convictions that they were supposed to walk in obedience, meaning being rebuked and corrected, right? From their own heart being exposed, but they never actually received rebuke correction because they still hung on to what they wanted. So they created their own ministry, their own church building, this, that, preaching those convictions that are only revealed to him, to the entire congregation, and the entire congregation is fueled by delusions of feelings and emotions of someone else's convictions that never received the correction and the rebuke, because there's no evidence of the living word, the living God coming through their living sacrifice, because they're powerless and their words are like clinging cymbals. But the only reason why they have tens of thousands of people or millions of people following them is because to the other people receiving this pollution, this mixture of lies, it makes sense. It makes sense to them, meaning to their own human understanding, which is all at war with our God. So they attach themselves to what they could understand and related to their own desires of their own heart. And they locked in to this evil, wicked cult that they call the church, which is an evil, wicked lie. And that's why we have a million different denominations all over the world. It's people that agree with other people's understanding that, like, I could relate to you, right? Instead of surrender to God and give up your understanding and give up your heart desires, which they never did. And that's how all these doctrines of devils, demonic theologies, and wicked cults, they link to the cult of the God of their all own understanding and send into what they're still living from their human emotions and feelings. And that's why all these wicked evil cults exist. And that's the definition of all these religions, you know what I'm saying? And that's how all these things were created by the devil. And they're just fueled by feeling human feelings and emotions, because they have no evidence, any of them, of the living word aligning with the word as it's written in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John. You guys listen to this at least 55 times. Woo! The man or woman has never received the correction and the rebuke of the conviction, the light shining in their darkness, right, of their past, and saying what they've been forgiven from. They never received that mercy, and instead they mixed God in, right, to what they still wanted in their own heart's desires, and created this perverted, twisted, demonic doctrine of devil theology called the building the church, you know what I'm saying, acting like God speaking through them, you know what I'm saying, when they never received, like I said, the rebuke and correction that was only and solely only for them and them alone. And now believing in their delusions and lies that God is actually coming through them when God was only coming to them. Now they call themselves a false prophet, false pastor, but yet there's no evidence of any of their life living in the living word and revealed as it's written. Let every man and woman be a liar. Nobody's good but God alone.